Hello. So I'm just trying to get set up really quick. Sorry, I'm running a little late, but I did want to come on and talk about the small tote pattern that we were supposed to be doing on this week's. Let me start from the beginning. So, if you saw the post, I was supposed to be doing crafting and chatting with the craft print today, but it was canceled, and we're gonna reschedule. But I still wanted to come on and go over some things about the pattern. We might get a chance to sew up one of the bags, but I just wanted to definitely get the information out, if that makes any sense, because I wanted to make this as simple as possible, so I left out a lot of detail that I would normally have included, and I want to be able to give that extra detail since I won't be holding up someone else as well. I've taught a similar version of this with some friends a few months ago. Possible, so I left out a lot of details that I would normally but and I want able to give that extra detail since I figured I won't be holding up someone else as well. We can go over a couple things. So I'm sitting here at my machine. This is an industrial machine, but it's not required for this. A simple household machine will work. I just happen to have this one, so that's what I use the majority of the time. But I don't use this for everything, depending on the material we're using. So I'm going to show you the bag that the pattern shows you to make. Okay. So if you go onto my profile, you will find a pattern for a bag. It comes in 2 pieces. Yeah. Real quick. So the pattern, when you print it out and tape it together, you'll get this. I typically don't like to use patterns for this. I'll teach you guys the formula for making this, but I just printed out the pattern twice and taped them together. So now this is a full panel for the pattern. I can see comments just in case anyone has any questions or anything, but thank you for joining. So this is the pattern. When you print it out, you just have to connect these 2 to create the full, I guess that's a diamond or rhombus. There you cut on the fold, and I don't have one cut out currently, but I'm going to show you what you get. So I've already sewn this. This pattern makes a bag that's this size. Let me show you. This is, I had this prepared for the class. Just showing, this is the exterior of the bag. I used a vinyl for this, so I didn't use any of the interfacing, but I am going to go over some of the interfacings and types of materials we can use for the bags. So this is a smaller bag, but using the formula I'm going to give you, you can make these in different sizes. I'm making a few that I should have mailed off a couple weeks ago. But this is that same bag prototype, same dimensions. This one is just all sewn up. And this one uses a bit of the foam that I mentioned that you can use. This one is vinyl. So it's, some people refer to it as like a faux leather, or but this one is just, this is all vinyl. This one is canvas from Walmart with that same vinyl on the bottom. No, it is basic sewing. You don't need a serger. You don't need anything special. I'm using an industrial, but I literally have just like my regular sewing machine sitting right next to me as well. And I typically keep that there for lighter materials because this machine will eat it up. But that's also why I use a lot of vinyls and thicker materials. But this one, to be like, to have a little bit more structure, I added in a little bit of foam. But you can use, there's a ton of different types of interfacing. Foam and fleece are what I mentioned with the pattern, but you can use anything. But once again, that's something that you learn as you grow with making like bags and things. But I'm going to show you one. Okay, this one is using the same type of formula, but this one has no added structure to it. And this one is much bigger, but it uses the same type of structure. This guy uses a very similar structure once again, but I use the vinyl at the bottom here, and it's just that canvas, but this is without anything in it. So interfacing just adds that extra bit of stiffness if your fabric doesn't already have it. So that's just something like, and this is a very simple, I started sewing. yeah, like you can make it your own. And this is something that I learned how to do. I want to say it's, oh, good Lord, maybe 15 years ago. It's really simple, really easy. I made the pattern to make it easier for people who've never done it before. But it's a very simple thing to like figure out, because you just have to, let me see if I can grab like a piece of paper so I can do this so you can see it. I think it might reverse it. So all you have to do to figure out for your bag, if you know what you want the finished dimensions of your bag to be, you can create a pattern on your own. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and pick this guy back up. So for this bag, what I wanted was, I wanted the bag to be 12 inches tall. And then I want it to be 4 inches deep. So that's how wide it is here. And then I want that front panel is 10 inches wide. So using those dimensions, I was able to come up with the pattern. So I think about it like this. So let me move this out of the way. Okay. So we're basically want to make a bag. We want it going up this way. We want it 12 inches. Going across this way, we want it 10 inches. So that's like our basic. So that's just like our basic ways. Thank you for letting everyone know. Precious Delights Canada. Appreciate that. So we want 12 inches high, 10 inches across. Really simple, but we also want to add that dimension for the sides. So on each side, I said I want it to be 4 inches deep. I'm going to make sure the side measurement is going to be half of what I want my finished side dimension to be. So I said I wanted it 4 inches deep. So I'm going to add on 2 inches to the side, but I'm adding 2 inches onto each side. And then on the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing because I want that whole dimension to be I want it to be 4 inches. Once again, 2 inches. So I'm going to add 2 inches on the bottom too. Only place we're not adding 2 inches is right here on the top. Next thing you do, so now we have a square that measures, what is that? 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's 16. I lied to you. So this is still 12. This is 12 plus the 2 that we added. So that's 14. This is our measurements. This is our 10 plus the 4 inches that we added. So then this is going to be 14. So this is also 14. I'm like looking at it like I did that wrong. And now we have to determine our seam allowance. So seam allowance is going to be the amount from the edge of the fabric to your stitching that holds the fabric, holds the pieces together. So in this, I just add a 1/2 inch to each piece. So I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So that's going to make, now I have a seam here, here, and here. So I'm going to go ahead and add a 1/2 to each of these. So I'm going to add a 1/2 here. So up and down, so going this way to this way should be 14.5. And then, because I added a 1/2 and I added a 1/2, this is going down to be 15. And that's the basics for creating your own tote. You're always going to take your side dimensions and add those. But a good starting place is always, and you can download the pattern. If you go into my bio, there is a link. But once you get that, you can easily turn any, and you can easily figure out how to figure out the pattern here. The only other thing that the only difference is we also, because we wanted those box corners, so on that bottom, you're going to, once again, take out the dimension for your sides. So it's going to be a 2x2 block that you're just taking out. And that's literally how you create the pattern. Yes. All this is already on the pattern, but yeah. So, but you can do this with, when I learned it as a basic square bottom bag. Super simple, is a really simple place to start. To just give you an idea, I've been sewing for close to 20 years, I want to say. And I have been making, I want to say exclusively, but almost exclusively making like bags and purses for the last, a little less than a year now. It's one of those things that like crept up on me. And so I was like, oh, this will be fun. So to have, I taught a bunch of friends how to make some tote bags. A couple of them, it was virtually, and a couple of them were right here in my dining room, and it was tons of fun. So I've been, yes. Yes. I started when I was a teenager, and I am 33 now. So I've been doing this a bit. I don't, a lot of stuff that like because up until like this last year, I was actually making a ton of like clothing and shirts and skirts and all sorts of stuff. I just really like, I'm really like hands-on. So I also like, I have like a laser, and I do some stuff with, I have like cameos, so I do some stuff with the cameos, and like I do a lot. So sewing is something like one of those things that I'm like, oh, I learned how to do it and I'm great at it, but like I need to learn how to do other things. So that's why this year I've really been into like making, learning how to like sew other like bags and things. I think I have one right here I can show you. And they all need to be flipped, of course. But I've been doing other people's patterns and like learning how like the ins and outs of the whole bag making community. Basically, it's a whole nother side of the internet, basically. That's the best way I can put it. It's a whole nother side of the internet. But I can flip this one out. I finished this guy a little while ago. I know. I have some denim over here that I've wanted to try, but like I'm just like really afraid about setting it on fire. So I haven't done that. I have done, so you can laser on some like faux leathers and stuff. So there's like one bag I do. I don't have it with me. No, it's actually anime characters, this one. But yeah, Sailor Moon, yep. But yeah, it's just like these are like, I have a couple little backpacks in here that I've made, and like that's really been what like I've been concentrating on recently, making backpacks. I have like a few different backpacks in here. I'm a bit of a nerd, so that always comes out in like a lot of my sewing. So then I also have this guy. Yeah, so like I have tons and tons and tons. Getting into like the bag community also let me explore, like the face on this one is machine embroidered on, so that was like another one of those things that I was able to get done. So, but what we are gonna do, I'm gonna show you guys. So since I've already started this guy here, yeah, that's Kirby. It's Kirby. Yeah, I can show you this guy too, because I was making quite a few that had the like different types of characters and stuff on them. So and okay, and that's Charmander. I was doing a whole bunch of like little backpacks like that. Then let's talk about materials. They are. If I saw any, I would probably jump all over them. Within the bag community, there's a lot of like custom printed like fabrics and stuff that people design themselves. I have not seen any Tokidoki. I have all sorts of cool stuff. I have like a 90s cartoon print. I have like Invader Zim. I have a lot of Pokemon. I think I have like a Rick and Morty. Trying to think what I have over there. I have some like also like a little bit of the little chameleon from, what is that called? Tangled. I have that little chameleon. Tons of different fabrics and stuff, like falling into that one like wormhole of the internet just turned me into a person that no longer has any disposable income because I'm spending it on other things all the time. Let's talk about interfacing. So in the pattern, I mentioned that you can use vinyl for the exterior or canvas. Canvas, you can buy it at any type of a store or anything. Like, so you can buy it at Walmart, like I said. This canvas was brought at Walmart. This vinyl was even brought at Walmart. It was on clearance for $1 a roll. So I figured I'd pick it up. I picked it up in a couple colors. The canvas also came from Walmart. And they sell them, even if they don't have cut fabric. Typically in the fabric department, they have like these packs like this. And they have different designs and things. This one isn't the canvas. This one is just their poly cotton. So this is a much thinner one. If you were to use this for your bag, I would recommend using one of the interfacings. But if you're using the canvas, I don't think you have to. There is also, if you don't mind searching for it, there's also different types of canvas like this. And this is, I ordered this from Amazon. And this is what is called waterproof canvas. So on one side, it's just canvas the way you're used to seeing it. On the other side, it has like a, what's the word I'm looking for? It has a polyurethane like coating on the back so that things can't soak through. This has a lot of structure to it. You can kind of tell as I'm like unrolling it a little bit, it kind of doesn't just like fall. This is really good. If you're using this for your bag, you do not have to use you don't have to use interfacing. That's actually one of the reasons I like using it, because you don't have to use interfacing. But this type of interfacing, this type of fabric canvas comes in different prints as well. So this is just like a piece of scrap. But this is like a kente print that I got from, where did I get this? Fabric Wholesale Direct. Fabric Wholesale Direct. So you can get stuff like that. In less work I have, yes, the kente. Yep. And that's a kente print from Fabric Wholesale Direct. Yes. And last I checked, they still had that. They have it in 2 colors. They have it with the yellow base to it. And they also have it with what they call an orange base. So they also have it with an orange base. Let me grab both of them so that you can see them next to each other. So that way you're able to get an idea of what they look like next to each other. So this is the one with the yellow base. This is the one with the orange base. It's more of like a mustard than actual orange. But like I love these. I use them for like I've used them on backpacks. I'm getting ready to make a backpack with the yellow one. I really like making backpacks, so that's there. I have a fairly large backpack that I made a couple months ago that I use this one on, and I freaking love it. If it's not like cutesy characters, it's usually like an African print that I'm using. So there's that. If you're using something like that type of weight, no interfacing needed. But if you're using like a simple cotton, I would recommend interfacing. Interfacings that I recommend for these types of bags, I'm going to show you. And these are just what I picked up at my local Walmart. So this is just foam. I do recommend getting the adhesive foam and not, this is the naked foam, but this is all they had in stock, and I just wanted to pick some up to show you. So I do recommend using this type of foam. This is actually the foam that's in this bag. So I do recommend getting the foam. The naked foam is always going to be the cheapest, but if you get any of the fusibles, it'll make it easier for you to get get your job done. If you don't use the fusible, you will just have to sew this to one of your panels so that it doesn't move while you're sewing the rest of it together. It's just like it adds another step while you're sewing. So that would be the foam. You can buy it like this on a roll. There wasn't much left, so I bought what was left on the roll. But you can also buy it. They come in packages like this as well. This is just the fleece that they had in stock at my local. I'm just talking about tote bags that. So the class we were going to make the small tote bag pattern is available in my bio, but because the class is canceled, I just figured we go more in depth into the materials that I would recommend. So this is like what the fleece looks like. This is a particular type of fleece, but this definitely works, and they come in your local Walmart. You can buy them. You can buy the foam like this. You can buy fleece like this. They have several different types. You just kind of like, I kind of just grabbed what they had. You can just grab what they have, make it work. So there's that one. In the bag making community, one that we use, that is used often, but it's very expensive and hard to come by, is this guy here. And this is what is called Decaville. I bought a whole roll of it. And I think this roll was on sale for like 50 bucks. But this is, even though it's thinner, it gives a lot of structure to things. So if you can find it, I recommend getting this. This is the Pelon brand, and I believe it's number 525. Joanne sells it online. They do not sell it in store. So that's why I'm saying it's a little bit tougher to get. But that's just some of the things that you can use. Trying to think what else. I always recommend sewing with strong synthetic threads. I try to avoid cottons typically and stick to polyesters in my domestic machine. And in my industrial machine here, I tend to stick to nylons. These are like, this machine is loaded up with bonded nylon. And all that means is the threads don't like fray as much. That's it. What else did I have? And if you printed out and cut out the pattern, let me show you. I've already, like I said, I already sewed together the exterior, and I'm gonna quickly cut out the interior so that I can show you how to sew that together as well. So let me get that situated. Excuse the mess. I'm moving stuff around as we're working. And so this is just my cutting table. And then this is just my cutting table. So. Okay. I need to grab fabric for this. Let me just squeeze on over. I'm gonna use this. And I dropped a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. So this is a waterproof canvas. And this is when, once again, it just has a pattern to it. I'm just gonna cut out the interior really quick for the bag that I already started making. And that way I can show you how to sew them together really quickly. So One of the greatest things about this though, so it doesn't have to be perfect. When you are cutting this out, I'm real big on, it doesn't always have to be exactly perfect. You get over it, you know? Because that takes, making sure, trying to be a perfectionist about everything also makes everything take a bunch longer, kind of takes the joy out of doing it. What I'm using here are, these are just washers from Home Depot. I use them as pattern weights. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut. I'll show you how to put this all together. Okay, so that's 1/2. I didn't cut the top, but I know I lined it up here, so I can. Okay. Cut that out. So that's one piece. Okay. Once again, line this up. Okay. Try not to be in your way, so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So there we are. We have our two pieces. Let's come back around to the, once again, doesn't really need to be perfect. Okay. So I'm going to get swung back around so that we can sew this together real quick. So, when sewing together the exterior, just go ahead and, once again, I say the 1/2 ounce is going to be very similar to the same way we sew together the exterior. I'm sorry. It's going to be really similar to how we sew together the interior, but I'm going to show you what's going to be different. But like I said, I already did the exterior. So, move you guys out of the way. So, we're going to take right sides together. So that means we're taking the pretty side of the fabric and we're going to put them together and line up. I like to line up the bottoms first. And for materials, it was said that you need clips or pins. I'm going to use clips, but you can always use like sewing pins. I just prefer clips. They're easier for the way I like to sew. So, depending on your fabric, depends on how you should, just clipping this together. Okay. Depending on your fabric, depends on your stitch length. If you're using a standard domestic sewing machine, I do recommend about a 3 to a 3.5 millimeter stitch length. It's a really good starting point. if you're using a industrial, depending on the weight of your fabric, depends on your stitch length for that. So I'm just really quickly going through and throwing a few clips to hold everything together. And then we're going to sew this guy up. And once again, like I said, I did not cut this perfectly square, which is not going to be a problem. And I'm going to show you why. So, okay. Just tossing a few here. Okay. So, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sew up the sides. Just regular, using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, right on my, let me see if you can see this. I can see this a little bit. Let me turn that back off because the light is a little distracting. So on my sewing plate here, I have markings for 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1 inch. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm gonna go ahead and stitch this guy up. Okay. Don't forget to backstitch at the beginning of every time you start to sew. Backstitch maybe two to 3 stitches, just to make sure that your stitches won't just pull out. And I recommend removing any clips and or pins as you sew them. And then I'm just coming to the end. Once you get to the end, you're going to repeat the same thing you did at the top. Reverse a couple, just reverse a couple, like 2 to 3 stitches. And then we have a seam. I like to trim my threads as I go, but you can wait until the end to trim them. I just prefer to trim them as I go. Okay, so now I'm going to repeat on the other side. This one, it looks like I'm coming up from the bottom, going up. This one is a little crooked. I'm just going to flip that straight. And then, okay. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. I'm going to sew this up really, really quickly. Okay, so this is where the construction differs from the exterior and the interior. On the interior fabric, when you're sewing, what you're going to do is you're going to start sewing the same way you normally would, but we're going to leave a gap. And I'm going to show you why. So I'm going to leave a gap, let's say right here. I'm going to reverse, stitch a couple extra, and then I'm going to pull through, maybe leaving a 3 to 4 inch gap, and I'm going to continue on the other side the same way. And once again, backstitch so that it doesn't pull out. The same way we did at the beginning. Okay. So now, I'm going to trim that. Okay. I'm going to cut these thread in between. No, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It does not. So I'm just going to show real quick. Okay, so I sewed. I'm going to turn this one back on so maybe you can see at the back. So I sewed down one side, sewed down the other. Those are the sides of the bag. This is the bottom of the bag. The bottom of the bag is where those two cutouts are. We're about to use those right now. But, and on the you can technically, and then you're just, we left a little gap. So if you're, so this is the inside of our bag, and we have a hole in the bottom of our bag. That's the difference between sewing up the interior versus the exterior. Exterior, it's fully sewn on the bottom. There is no gap, zero gap. Like this is together. And the reasoning for that is once we go to sew the interior to the exterior, we're going to need a way to flip it all so that all the pretty sides are showing. Now to make this into an actual bag. So the way you make this into an actual bag is you take these corners. Once again, this is a half an inch seam allowance. So you're going to take these corners and you're going to line up the seams. I'm trying to make sure you can see this. Take the corners, line up the seams, and push them together like so. I really hope you can see this. I'm trying to make sure my fat fingers aren't going. I'm going to push one seam to one side and the other seam to the other side. You can also butterfly your seams if you want, and butterflying the seams would do this. So you can do this to your seams. Matter of fact, that's what we will do to our seams because we have such large seam allowances. Okay, so got it. Now I'm going to clip these down. Clip, clip. This is a lot of clips for such a small area, but I think you guys can get the idea. So now the corner is flat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead using that same ½ inch seam allowance, making sure the back stitch, go ahead and sew that straight. Okay. Okay, so now this is all sewn straight. I'm going to repeat on the other side. So once again, like I said, I'm going to butterfly these. Yep. Butterfly these guys. And once again, I'm just going to do the same thing for this corner, the same way I did it on the other corner. So now, once again, ½ inch, starting at one end, making sure to back stitch all your ends. Okay, pull that out, flip. Okay, so now we have basically the same thing that we have here. So this and this are basically identical. So I'm just bringing the pretty side out so you can see really quick. Okay, so now we technically have two fairly identical pieces. Difference between these, once again, is we have the hole on the bottom of this one, no hole on the bottom of this one. What we're going to do now is we're going to take our exterior and we're going to add in the straps. So I stored my straps inside the bag. Yeah, this surprised me so much because it didn't look nearly as pretty online as it did in person, and I was like, I was really taking a gamble, but I really do like this. I think I'm gonna order more of this, and this is once again one that you can get from Amazon or Fabric Direct Wholesale or Fabric Wholesale Direct. That's it. FWD. Yes, you can get it from either of those two places, and this is just the OtterTex waterproof canvas, and it's just one of their prints. So now we're going to do straps. I don't think I mentioned that you'll need this, but just a ruler. Not yet. We will, because we're going to be putting this guy and this guy together. So technically this bag is reversible, but I only use them as reversible bags if I use the same type of material on either side. So this one I use just canvas on the outside and the inside. So that means I can depending on my mood, depends on what side of the bag is out. But I typically just like to have pretty interiors because it's like my own it's my own secret. I think that's the best way I can put it. It's like my own pretty secret. So I'm gonna show you the straps. So I didn't talk about straps. So on the pattern I say 1 or 1.5 inch straps. This is 1.5. I bought it from Amazon. It comes in rolls, but I also have, it comes in different colors. This is 1 inch. This is 1 inch. These are both polyester or nylon. Yeah, it's like a 2-for-1. And you just make sure to, if I can do this, and you just make sure to melt the ends when you're doing this with polyester or nylon straps. If you're using cotton straps, I recommend zigzagging or sewing across the ends a few times just to make sure it doesn't unravel, because the worst thing that could happen is your straps falling out of your bag. So this one, I cut each of these at 24 inches, 2 feet, because I like that length, but you can pick whatever length you want. I like the 2 foot length. I think it feels good. And then to figure out where I'm going to put my straps, I measure in 2 inches. So I'm just going to take this little ruler I have, and I lied. I'm measuring in 3 inches. I think I like the way 3 inches looks a little bit better. So I'm just making a little mark. And once again, you can put your straps however far in as you want, however, you can put them basically wherever you want them to be. The only reason I measure them is to make sure that they're the same on either side, but you can eyeball it. It's not that, it's really not like super, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not one of those things like, oh, the world's gonna end if they don't line up. Like, no, it's not. Once again, this is like a really quick, fun project. Most people, when they're showing people how to like make something to sew and it's something simple and useful, they do pillows. And I personally just don't use a lot of pillows. So this uses some of those same techniques that you learn with a pillow, but it's something that we all use, especially as we go through to a more economic friendly society. We want to make sure that we are using reusable bags. When placing on your handles, I'm placing it right at the edge of my little mark, making sure that this is laying straight. Also making sure it's hanging off about a 1/2 inch. I'm going to go ahead and clip that in place. Go ahead and clip that in place. And then I'm going to make sure that that it's not twisted, because nobody wants to twist this strap. So we're just going to make sure it is straight. Once again, overhanging by about a 1/2 inch. Clip it in place. So what we're going to do, we're making sure it is face downward towards the bag. Towards the outside of the bag, because that's when we're all said and done, this is where we want our handle to be. We don't want the handle inside the bag. We want it to be outside the bag. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to repeat this on the other side, and then I'm just going to quickly tack those in place. So I'm just clipping these in place. And I'm clipping mine on the inside of those marks that I made. But you can put them on the outside. As long as you're consistent, make sure you're consistent. Okay, so really quick, just gonna go in. I don't know if you can see, real quick. I'm just making sure it's straight. And I'm just going to really quickly baste this in place. So I'm not back stitching, I'm just basting. So I'm just throwing some stitches in it to make sure it's not going to move when we go to attach the lining to this. So once again, I'm just going to sew straight across because I'm lazy. That's the best way I can put it. I'm lazy. I'm just going to sew straight across. And then pull this out. Okay. So now straps are attached to one side. I'm going to repeat this on this side of the bag. Repeat that on this side of the bag. Once again, I'm just basting in place. And that was in the wrong spot. Make sure that all your layers are out of the way. Okay. And I did all that, and my needle came unthreaded. This is going to be real quick. I can do this really quickly. Okay. I'm over here trying to rush and I'm creating a little loop. Creating a loop. Okay, cool. So now I'm just gonna continue. I'm gonna back stitch over this one only because I didn't have thread for a bit of sewing that part. So I'll go back over it. Okay. Okay. So now we have cutting off the extra threads so they're not in the way when we go to do this next part. Okay. So we technically have a bag, but it's not finished on the inside. You see all the seams. Not pretty. So the next step, we're going to take our lining. I'm going to flip it back to where it was. So we're going to flip our lining so the ugly side of the fabric is out. And then we're going to slide our bag into our lining. Make sure the handles are out of the way but in our bag. Now what we're going to do is line up the seams. So I'm going to butterfly the seams and I'm just going to line up these seams, lining up the tops, and I'm going to clip at the top. Put that together. And then repeat on this side. Depending on your material, depends on how much you're gonna have to smush and push but trust me, it will work. So we're gonna go ahead and clip this guy into place, and then basically we're just gonna clip the rest. Just clip around the bag and like so. Just clip around the bag. Clip around the bag like so. Okay. So now we have interior, exterior. We're gonna sew around this really quickly. Okay. So now all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sew in a circle using a 1/2 inch seam allowance once again. So make sure the top is out of the way. So squish it if you have to. Make sure it's right where it needs to be. So I don't know if you can see, but all I'm going to do, once again, just pick a spot and start sewing. I'm going to back stitch at the top and work my way around. And we're just keeping that. Once again, and when sewing this might be difficult if you aren't used to sewing, but stop as often as you have to. Rearrange the bag a little bit if you need to. When you stop, make sure your needle is down, and then keep going. I'm sorry, you can't see anything, but trust me. little bit about halfway through. Once again. Okay, we have it, and we're just gonna go all the way around the top, making sure to as we're sewing this together. And we're almost there. Okay, I'm just gonna clip these extra threads a little bit. So now everything is sewn together. It's technically one piece. I recommend leaving these little bits from the straps that are hanging inside the bag. Leave those as long as possible. So you have wrong side of the bag. This is the wrong side of the vinyl. And remember, we have that hole in the bottom. It's going to take some work with this. But what we're going to do is we're going to reach in through that hole that we have on the bottom. And we're going to pull the pretty part of our bag through that hole. So this is just turning the bag. Okay. There we go. And once it's just the interior of the bag, it's much easier than pulling this through. There we go. So, I don't recommend poking out the corners to this bag, but what we're going to do now is we are going to pull these sides. Remember, we sewed to here and stopped, and then here and stopped. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pinch those two pieces together, like so. Add a couple clips. Add a couple clips. You can either hand stitch this together for a prettier interior, but I am, for better words, lazy. And I'm just going to, using almost no seam allowance at all, I'm just gonna stitch right across that opening on the bottom. But if you, like I said, if you want like a bit of a cleaner finish, go right ahead and stitch that together by hand. I'm lazy, and if I can avoid hand stitching, I do. So I'm gonna cut that. So now there's no more hole in the bottom. The bottom of the bag is sewn together at that junction right here. And then what we're gonna do now, we're gonna shove the interior of our bag inside our bag. I know, groundbreaking, but we're just shoving the interior of the bag inside the bag. So now that the interior of our bag is actually inside our bag, now I'm kind of just like pushing things into the corners, make sure it's all the way down there. And on this top seam, what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna pinch this. It's gonna be a little bit difficult to do this way, but we're just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna stitch across the top right here. Just stitch right across the top just to finish it off, and then we're done. So I'm gonna do that really quickly. I really wish I could get you in a different position to see me, because this is gonna be a little bit more difficult to see. It also helps, since we're top stitching, it helps to flip the whole thing like so. So the interior is on the outside. So I'm gonna, once again, just go ahead and I'm gonna start sewing. I like to start where one of the straps is, but I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure this edge is pulled out as best as it can be, and then we're gonna be done. We're almost there. We're almost there. Okay. So I like to start either at a seam, either at one of the side seams, or right where the strap is. I'm gonna start where the strap is today. I'm going to stitch down maybe 1/4 of an inch to keep it, it can be. That's one of the greatest things about this, using these types of materials, these thicker materials, because they can also withstand a lot of the abuse that we take them through. So, and I'm actually, as I'm stitching this, I'm using like a rainbow thread. So my fabric actually has all like the colors that this, my thread even has like all the colors that this fabric even has. So the exterior that I'm using here, the pink, is a vinyl. And then the interior that you see here is a waterproof canvas. You can get waterproof canvas in a lot of different places. This printed one in particular can be bought on either Amazon or from Fabric Wholesale Direct online. And this is by OtterTex. At this point, I think I've started collecting sewing machines. So, about a couple years ago, I'm actually using my industrial machine here. This is a knockoff of a Juki 8700, but this is the Viver 8700. It's a fraction of the price. So I decided to take a chance to see if I would use it before I dropped a couple grand on the Juki version. But this one is doing really well, and I have no intentions of actually replacing it like I thought I would. This fabric, you don't really require it. I believe I'm using a number 16 needle in this. It's not, you don't really need heavy duty anything when it comes to these materials. I have also sewn these same materials on my domestic. For sewing machines, I currently have this, which is the Viver DDL 8700, which is a knockoff of the Juki with the same name. I also have a Brother SE350. I've had that one for about 10 years. I also have, what else do I have over here? I have a Singer Simple that I've had for 12 or 13 years. And then I have my grandmother's newer old Singer. My grandmother's Singer, she bought it. I want to say me and her went to like the big Kmart when it first opened in like in the late 90s, and we went and bought that sewing machine. And she's no longer with me, but I still have her sewing machine. So maybe about a couple years ago, I got it up and running, and I use that a lot of times, especially for heavy duty work. The best you could compare that one to is a Singer Heavy Duty, because they don't really make that particular model anymore, but it's because it has a lot of plastic on it, is when they, but it does also have a lot of metal on it. Maybe I'll go over like all my sewing. I also have like one of the Brother 1034 sergers, because I used to make a lot of clothing, and if you're making clothing, like a lot of clothing, I highly recommend the serger. But all my sewing machines I've got on, yes, I'm using nylon thread. This is bonded nylon thread. This thread I'm using is made for industrial machines. And I'm using, this one is what is Tech 70, which is different from how they rate domestic machine threads. For domestic machines, they go by weight, and the higher the weight, the thinner the thread. But with the text numeration system, the higher the number, the thicker the thread. Yes, this is these are made for the industrial machine. I'm just using like simple Oregon needles, but this is a 116 needle. These are my go-to for this machine. They get through most of the materials that I use on a regular basis, but I have tons of different needles and things that I bought when I got this machine. I've had this machine since March of this year. In my Brother right now, I think I have a 14, a number 14 needle. The needle numbering system is the same now. You can just get thicker needles when it comes to the industrials. Okay. I'm just rotating the bag as I go around. When top stitching, I do recommend using like a longer stitch length. Currently on this machine, I am using a number 5 stitch length, and that's the longest this machine goes to. If I was using my Brother, I would probably go to like a 4.5, because that's thinner thread. I really wish I had you guys on the other side so you can actually see me sewing, but that would take way too much maneuvering of the actual camera, so I'm not doing that. Okay, and we are done. That's it. And I played Bob and Chicken and I lost. I played Bob and Chicken and I lost. Okay, so I'm not going to re-thread it now, but I do want to show you guys the finished look of this bag. So when I say I lost Bob and Chicken, I'm going to reach under and grab the bobbin on this guy. It is so soothing. I actually go to sleep through watching people sew a lot. But my bobbin's empty for the last like 4 inches of the bag. But I'm still gonna flip this and then I will reload this after. So I'm gonna flip this back so the exterior is out. And one cool thing about the vinyl I use is that this is a chalkboard vinyl. So I can actually like write on this bag if I wanted to with some chalk or grease pencils, and it would create, but there is a finished bag. Finished-ish. So now we have a finished bag. Do we have any questions before I log off? I get that. My mom is definitely afraid of sewing machines because I think one of her siblings sewed through one of their fingers. Yes, you can definitely resize this. But my mother is like, she will not go near a sewing machine. I have tried to get her to go near one, and I cannot. She refuses. She thinks it's so cool, everything you can make with them. Refuses to touch it. And her mom before me was like really big into sewing, so like she's been around it all her life. It took once and she will not go near them. You can always resize this pattern. If you wanted to use your own dimensions, I maybe go over more in depth all those dimensions too. But yeah, you can definitely resize this. It's so super simple that you can kind of make it your own with a lot of it. What else do I have? Yeah, it's what, if you wanted to make it a different size, all you have to do is go in, when you go to print it, go into the settings and print, by percentage. So you would just say, if you wanted to make it smaller, you can say instead of printing at 100%, print it at like 90%. If you wanted to make it bigger, you can print it. Yeah. If you wanted to make it bigger though, you could also just, it's in my bio. There's a link to the pattern that I created for you guys, and that creates this size bag. So, and it's just a small tote bag. Let me see. I'll stand up. Let me see. I'll readjust the camera. I'll stand up so I can show you what this looks like next to me. Just trying to make sure that you guys can see. Before I get over there. Over here in the corner. Okay. Over here in the corner. Okay. So, yep. So now, this is what this bag looks like next to me. So it's a smaller tote bag. I like this size for like, I bring my lunch with me when I go to lunch, when I go to work. So this is a great size for that. And then you can make the handles longer if you like, but this is the standard that I like to go with. But you can definitely, if you want to like do it, you can make this any size you want to make it. Any size. Exactly, yep. They're on the other side of the room, but you can definitely, if you want to resize it larger, all you have to do is print, Like, you have to go in and make a poster print. That's all you have to do. Super, super simple. Yeah, but these are, and once again, like, yeah, the fun lining's on the inside, but you can always definitely, like, reverse it if you want. I like this size and everything, especially, like I said, I use it as like I use this size as like a lunch bag, which means if anything spills in it, I can always clean this up easily, because like I said, this is a waterproof canvas. Thanks. But yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free to DM me, message me. I love sharing whatever knowledge I have, and I really hope I can actually create more actual, like, purse patterns in the future. Thanks for joining me today. Yeah. Yep. You can definitely hand sew this if you use regular cotton. Or if you are brave, I've seen people do it. Use the fusible webbing that you can pick up at, like, Joann's and stuff for, like, hemming. You can use that for your seams. It is no problem. I try to, like, share and talk to people, and just like I said, if you have any other questions, feel free, message me, DM me, and I will leave this available on my page so that anytime you would like to, you can, like, reference back to it. And once again, I'm still going to be doing the class with Shondell whenever she is free again. So we will do this again. Okay. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.